Now, a lot of you have asked, how did I come up with this idea for story time with the bombshell? I wanted to have a gift that I could give back, that I felt like I could share with you all. It's kind of like a little bit of a dear bombshell here with you. And I thought the best way I could do that, because I would love to be a mom, but I'm not, clearly, would be to pick out stories that would be great to read for children. The redneck one I'm not too sure on. Sorry about that. But stories that I thought I could share with one and all. So this next story, I loved the story Pride and Prejudice. I loved the Hallmark movie that they did about it in their own way, which was Unleashing Mr. Darcy. And Mr. Darcy's Night Before Christmas, I found it on Amazon, actually. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is perfect. So let's see how perfect it is. "'Twas the night before Christmas, said at Pemberley, not a servant was stirring, they slept peacefully. A cold snow lay heavy all over the park, while inside Mr. Darcy sat alone in the dark. He stared at the fire and heard the wind blow. From outside there echoed a loud ho, ho, ho. He heard jingling bells and light prancing hoof. Why, yes, it was Santa up on top of his roof. First down the chimney came one big black boot, then came old Santa all covered in soot. Mr. Darcy, he said, as he grinned ear to ear, come tell your friend Santa what you'd like this year. Now Darcy gave pause, his thoughts were swirling, with flashes of fine eyes and ballrooms a-twirling. Miss Elizabeth Bennet, far off at Longbourn, as his mind turned to her, and he felt very forlorn. I have a large fortune and quite a good life, but as a man single, I'm in want of a wife. There's a young woman who sparked my interest, though I doubt for my status that she is the best. Santa furrowed his brow and he stroked his white beard. Darcy's great pride was much worse than what he had feared. What could he do now? So proud Darcy would know that obeying his heart was the best way to go. Inspiration struck Santa. He chuckled inside. Mr. Darcy, said he, let us go for a ride. You can help me fill stockings on this Christmas night, and maybe we'll find a Mrs. Darcy. All right? Mr. Darcy agreed, and they sprang to the sleigh. With a snap of the reins, and they were up and away. They took to the sky, through the stars and the dark, to the county of Kent and the grand Rosings Park. There dwelt Darcy's aunt and sickly cousin Anne. When infants their marriage had been his aunt's plan. Darcy politely but sternly rejected this notion. I won't marry my cousin for all the fish in the ocean. Despite my aunt's attempts, this I cannot do. Please let us move on, and so off they flew. In London at the home of the Bingleys they stopped, and down the chimney Santa and Mr. Darcy did drop. Charles is a fine friend, congenial to all, said Darcy, but he's been subdued since this fall. Perhaps that's because you said Jane does not care. But trust me, said Santa, I know you're wrong there. Mrs. Caroline Bingley, asked Santa, would she do? No, replied Darcy, she's just too rude and a shrew. I know she is closer to my life and high station, but her attentions to me are a source of vexation. Very well, replied Santa, she's all wrong for you. Now quick, fill these stockings, there's a lot left to do. They took off for once more through wintry London town, and in front of an orphanage landed back down. There they softly tiptoed tween the rows of small beds, while the orphan children rested their wee little heads. Santa filled all the stockings while Darcy trimmed the tree. He imagined their faces filled with wonder and glee. Mr. Darcy felt cheer welling up in his heart, perceiving it was not what you get, but in part. We must truly love despite fortune or station, and show kindness and concern for all of creation. At this realization he paused and he pondered. Why am I so stubborn? He silently wondered. And turning to Santa, he knew what he wanted. He was willing to take on that challenge undaunted. Oh, Santa, I think you know the wife I desire. Let's proceed with all haste into far Herefordshire. And again through the heavens the sleigh took its flight, until the estate of Longbourn was in sight. Peeking out the chimney they saw still one light shone. Look there, whispered Santa, I fear we're not alone. In front of the fire, with her feet all tucked under, Miss Elizabeth Bennet lay sweetly in slumber. Santa chuckled. Though you thought her to be tolerable only, without her quick wit you would surely be lonely. Now you find her You now find her handsome and tempting enough, but winning her heart may prove a bit tough. And she's seen your disdain and has heard Wickham's slander. Tell her the truth about him with the utmost of candor. Now I'll wake her quietly and gently, and give you aid to your cause. So Elizabeth woke to the face of Santa Claus. But soon she spied Darcy peeking from out behind. Her eyes narrowed, brow furrowed. Was she out of her mind? This man whose harsh words had caused Bingley to flee, what on earth was he doing by her Christmas tree? My dear Elizabeth, said Santa, I can see you're distressed. We don't mean to startle. Darcy is here as my guest. Please listen to him and he may calm your fears. Wickham's on my naughty list and has been for years. Yes, Darcy's proud, but his deeds have been good. I'd say he's quite a fine man. Indeed I would. This pronouncement Elizabeth fears did relieve, for if you can't trust Santa, who can you believe? Mr. Darcy then knelt, for he knew what he'd to do. Miss Elizabeth, he said, I ardently love you. I know this is fast, and we've borne our share of strife, but please do me the honor of becoming my wife. Aww. Okay, that's just, the all wasn't in there. I thought it was cute. I have learned that what matters is not status and rank, and for that I have you, my dear, and Santa to thank. Please forgive the ungentlemanly things that I've said, and let us make plans for our future ahead. Elizabeth smiled and then nodded approbation. She could feel that Mr. Darcy spoke with great admiration, and Santa was glad that his lesson was well taught, had changed Darcy's heart, his old ways now forgot. Santa left the two right there beneath the mistletoe, finished filling stockings and made ready to go. Up the chimney he rose, and he gave the reins a swish, glad to help Darcy get his best Christmas wish. The two at the window were waving farewell as the church started chiming its first Christmas bells. Then they heard Santa call as he flew out of sight. Happy Christmas to all, and to all a good night. Wasn't that a cute little book? Probably my favorite of all the Christmas ones. I do have 2 stories, believe it or not, left to read. I'm going to try and sing next, though. I'm going to do my best to read. I don't know. We may go ahead and read one more tonight, and then I'll save the Christmas story, that's the last book, for Christmas Day. So I'll read one more, and then 2 songs, and then on Christmas we'll do Blonde Bombshell, which is the Dear Bombshell, and we'll do the Christmas story. Sound good? Good.